Hi guys, I'm Danielle and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a book haul for you for all of the books that I bought in September and October. I've bought quite a few books these past months, some of which I've already read, some of which I haven't, so there is going to be a good mix of them. I'm really excited to be showing them off, so let's get into it. So the first book I want to talk about today is going to be Assistant to the Villain. I got the first edition of this, which came with the red sprayed edges. They are on all of the sides, and I really like that it's pretty floppy. I'm a huge fan of floppy paperbacks. This book is about Evie, who has recently lost her job and needs a new one. So she stumbles across a job posting for an assistant to the villain. This is a cozy fantasy romance though, so the villain is not too villainous. He's actually just really looking out for his people. So after taking the job, Evie ends up uncovering a plot to get rid of the villain. She does not want this to happen though, because she has actually developed a little crush on him. So she's going to try everything she can to help save him and help save his people. So this was a really fun read in the end. There was even a little frog character that I found really funny. I can't wait to see what happens in the next book. So the next book that I want to talk about is going to be Lore Olympus Volume 5 by Rachel Smythe. This is the Barnes & Noble edition, and I really love that they have Hades on the cover of this one. So if you're unsure of what Lore Olympus is, it is a modern graphic retelling of the god Hades and the goddess Persephone's love story. Hades is the god of the underworld and Persephone is the goddess of spring. I really love any story pertaining to Hades and Persephone, so when I saw that these were coming out in hardcovers, I knew I had to collect them. I have read most of this story already. I think I've probably read up to episode like 200 or something online, where it is still coming out and you can read it weekly. There are quite a few hard-hitting topics in this series though, so please check the trigger warnings because I know SA was a big one in the beginning and it does follow throughout the rest of the series. Overall, this is just a great series. I really love the artwork in it. It's beautiful. I love how they put a color to each character, and throughout the series, that character stays in that color so you can really tell who you're talking about. You can read this online still. I just chose to get physical copies of it because that's how I prefer to read my graphic novels. The next books that I picked up together, so I'm just going to talk about them together. They are House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas, and these are the UK paperback editions. I really wanted to pick these up because I really loved the covers. House of Earth and Blood is my favorite book ever, and I really wanted to have this edition. I feel like everybody knows what these are about, but I'll just go over them quickly. So we have half human, half fae, Bryce Quinlan, who ends up teaming up with fallen angel Hunt Athalar to try and find out who killed her friends. They end up getting swept up in the case and will do whatever they can to figure out who murdered them. While they're on the hunt trying to figure out who killed Bryce's friends, there's a demon loose in the city as well that is causing havoc. They're going to have to dig really deep into Crescent City's underbelly to uncover the truth and save themselves in the process. I'm really happy to add these to my collection, and I'll definitely be picking up the third one when it comes out in paperback as well. So the next book that I picked up is going to be Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This is the third book in the Dark Artifices series. This edition though is the anniversary edition that just came out, and I did have to buy this from Waterstones in order to get it here to the US because they don't sell it here. I really love the look of this book. It doesn't look like any of the other Shadowhunter books besides the special editions for this series that have already come out, but the colors, the style, I'm a big fan of it. So this series is about Emma and Julian, who are Shadowhunters. They end up falling in love, but love between parabatai are forbidden, so this is how they have to deal with the consequences of that love. There's also a bunch of other stuff going on. I don't want to go too much into it because if you haven't read the other series, I don't want to spoil you for this one, especially because this is the third book. But again, really excited to have this one. I have already read it though, so this one is not one that's being added to my TBR. So the next book I have to talk about is going to be Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. This is her adult debut novel, and I really enjoyed it. I do want to say a big thank you to Del Rey because they sent me this finished copy. I actually finished it last night and I really did have a good time with it. I tabbed and annotated it, which I love doing for new series just so I can figure out what's going on, and hopefully those tabs and annotations will help me when I read the next book in the series. So I'm actually a huge fan of Cassandra Clare's writing, mainly because of the Shadowhunter series. I've read them all, and I will continue to reread them. So as soon as I heard that this one was coming out, I knew I was going to have to get myself a copy. In this one, we follow Kell, who is the sword catcher for Connor the Prince. Being the sword catcher pretty much means that Kell is going to stand in for Connor in any dangerous situations and essentially take the sword if he's killed. We also follow Lynn, who is one of the Ashkar, who are a small community of people who still have magic in this time where magic is forbidden. Lynn is a physician who uses her magic for good. So the Ashkar as a group are actually shunned from the city. Nobody really wants them there, so they're forced to live behind a wall and aren't allowed out after night and do have to wear blue if they venture out into the city. Lynn, who's a physician, ends up being called to the palace after an assassination attempt gone wrong. After Lynn and Kell are brought together due to the assassination attempt, they're drawn into the web of the Rag Picker King. He is the criminal mastermind of Castellane's underworld. He ends up offering each of them what they want most, and they can't refuse. And as long-time secrets are unraveled, they must ask themselves, is knowledge worth the price of betrayal? Like I said earlier, I really enjoyed this one. I do think this is a strong entry as a first book in the series, and I'm excited to see what happens next. I really enjoyed the Rag Picker King as a character, and the next book in the series is actually called The Rag Picker King, so I'm really excited to see what happens next. The next book that I have is going to be Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone. I love Sierra Simone books, so as soon as I saw that a new series was coming out from her, I knew I had to pick it up. There is a prequel novella to this called Salt in the Wound that you should read before you read this one. I just don't have a physical copy of it. But Salt Kiss and this whole series is going to be a Tristan and Isolde retelling. Salt Kiss is the first book in the Lioness series by Sierra Simone, and it is going to be a MMF series. In this book, though, we have MM and MF. They never actually get to the three of them being together. So in this, we have Tristan, who's actually recently left the army and doesn't know what to do. He's brought on to be a bodyguard for Mark, who is the owner of a kink club in DC. This is all new to Tristan, and he's not sure that he should be wanting this. But protecting Mark is not Tristan's only job. Mark actually sends him to pick up his bride-to-be from Ireland. So Mark travels over to Ireland, grabs Isolde, and ends up spending a whole lot of time with her, traveling back to DC on Mark's yacht. During that time, Tristan and Isolde get closer, things happen, and he's really not sure how he should be feeling because he likes Mark and he likes Isolde. Isolde is nothing like Tristan expects, and with both of them being lonely on the yacht, things occur that probably shouldn't occur since Mark is Tristan's boss and Isolde's soon-to-be husband. I really can't wait to see where this series ends up. Sierra Simone is such a good writer, and I really enjoy her sexy scenes. So the next books I picked up are going to be from Sierra Simone as well. I picked up her whole Thorn Chapel series. For that series, we have A Lesson in Thorns, we have A Feast of Sparks, Harvest of Sighs, and Door of Bruises. I actually read this series on Kindle Unlimited like 2 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. So I saw these at Barnes & Noble the other day, and I really wanted to pick them up. Also, they are very heavy, so I'm only going to hold up one of them for this video. So in this series, we follow 6 main characters who, when they were younger, they and their families used to visit Thorn Chapel all the time. Something happened though, and their families never took them back. They all end up back at Thorn Chapel though, where weird things are occurring, and they need to figure out why their families never went back in the first place. So there's lots of romance, mystery, smutty scenes, if you couldn't tell by the cover of this book, and I highly suggest this one if you're a Sierra Simone fan. I will say though, there are some trigger warnings. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but please look those up before picking this series up. So the next book up is going to be Sunshine and Cinnamon by Lindsay Rochester. I actually won this in an Instagram giveaway. I don't know too much about it, but I absolutely love the cover and I can't wait to pick it up. So because I won this in a giveaway directly from the author, she actually signed and personalized it to me, so I was really excited to see that. So what I get from this one is that it's set in Laurel Falls, Maine, which is a small town in Maine. Chase has come to town to heal and be free of memories, and Ruby has come to visit her grandma, Mamu, at Mamu's Bakery, the Sweet Spot. I love books that have bakeries or anything to do with that because I love baking. When Ruby and Chase meet, they might have gotten off on the wrong foot, but their chemistry is undeniable. And with a little bit of behind the scenes help, Ruby starts to see how wonderful Chase really is and learns to trust again. And Chase is determined to right her mistaken assumptions about him. I'm excited to see what goes on in this book, and I do want to pick up the next one in the series too. It has a really pretty fall cover, and I can't pass up a fall cover. So the next one up is one I've actually talked about before. I talked about it in my November TBR video, which I put up last week, so go check that one out. But that is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. This is the Book of the Month edition. I got it in September, so I'm hoping to pick it up in November because the cover, super fall, and I don't want to miss out on it this year. So in this one, we have a comedian and a chef who are sleeping with the same woman. They both break up with her, and many years later, they end up meeting again. They can't stand each other, but circumstances bring them together, and they end up as friends with no benefits and then friends with benefits. Next up, I have Starling House by Alix E. Harrow, which is also the Book of the Month edition, and also on my TBR for November. So this story is about a creepy house in a town where an author has gone missing. The main character in the story is obsessed with this author's work and is invited to the house. She can't pass up this chance to go, so she ends up going and mysterious things ensue. So the next book that I have on the list is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. This is also the Book of the Month edition, and it is on my TBR for November as well. So in this book, we have family curses, romance, mystery, and a touch of the impossible. So next up, I have Foxglove by Adalyn Grace, and this is the gorgeous FairyLoot edition of it. Foxglove is the captivating sequel to Belladonna, in which Cigna and Death face a supernatural foe determined to tear them apart. Again, this one is on my November TBR, and I am really excited for it. So the next book that I'm going to be talking about is Son of Blood and Ruin by Marielle Lares. This is the FairyLoot edition that I got in the September FairyLoot box. It's a gender-bent Zorro fantasy retelling featuring a heroic warrior sorceress, a pursuit of justice, shape-shifting, and Mesoamerican mythology. So next up, I have the FairyLoot edition of Fourth Wing. I am so excited to own this book. It is so pretty. I just can't get over all of the special editions that this book has come out with. I absolutely love that FairyLoot edition, but I am even more excited to own this Bookish box edition of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros as well. I really wasn't sure I was going to like this one all that much when I originally saw it. I knew I was going to buy it because I didn't want to pass it up, but when I got this and opened it the other day, I was awestruck. I couldn't believe how beautiful this book actually is. So in this story, we have Violet Sorengale, who's been training her whole life to enter the scribe quadrant, but her mother, who is the commanding general, is forcing her to enter the dragon riders instead. But Violet doesn't have a lot of practice becoming a dragon rider because when she was younger, her dad was training her to be a scribe. And she's worried that because she's smaller than everybody else and that her body is brittle, the dragons aren't going to want to bond with her and they're going to incinerate her instead. After crossing the parapet and making it into training, Violet meets Xaden Ryerson, who is the most powerful and ruthless wing leader in the Riders Quadrant. Xaden is the son of a rebellion leader and is pretty much an outcast in society here. Nobody really likes him, and he seems to have a chip on his shoulder and does not like Violet at all. Yet with every day that passes, the war outside grows more deadly and the kingdom's protective wards are falling. Even worse, Violet begins to suspect that leadership is hiding a terrible secret. I'm really excited to own both of these special editions, and I cannot wait for Iron Flame to come out on the 7th. Then last, but certainly not least, I have Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas, and this is the Bookish box edition. I actually just got the notification that this was going to be coming today while I was filming, and I ended up having to run out to the post office and grab it, since unfortunately the post office does not deliver to my house. So in this one, we have Jordan, who is dating Cole, and they have been dating for a little while. They recently found themselves without a place to live, so they ended up having to move in with Cole's dad, Pike. Jordan and Pike have a chance meeting before they're actually introduced, and Jordan ends up really liking Pike, which is a problem since he's Cole's dad. While they're living at his house, they do end up breaking up, so there is no cheating in this. There are quite a few trigger warnings though, so please look those up before going into it, but this is one of my favorite romances. But that's it for my book haul today. I'm really excited to have all these books and can't wait to read the ones that I haven't read yet and excited to reread the ones that I have. If you've picked up any good books over the past couple of months, let me know in the comments so I can check them out too. So thanks for watching my book haul today. Please like and subscribe and comment down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!